afternoon, everybody. And here we are back with the Thriving Business podcast. And I'm very happy to be back just having a one-to-one conversation with Sam because that's not the norm lately. Hi, Sam.
Hello, Kate. I know I'm excited for today. It's been too long.
Yeah, yeah. Life has its way of, throwing things at us. But here we are back together today. And yeah, we've got a lot of, well, you and I started getting on a roll of excitement as we were catching up and, decided that we should probably hit the record button because there was so much good stuff coming out.
Yes.
And today's topic, which we know we've covered many times, but as Sam and I said, it's evolving constantly, which is the world of AI and how we use it and harness it in our businesses to be more efficient and, you know, do more insightful, meaningful things. So,
Yes, I know that my day to day is more and more involved with using AI tools,
mm,
and I love it. I love it. But, as quickly as AI hit the scene and has evolved, we are also looking at what this next generation of AI is going to do to our world, do to our businesses, and that's the world of agentic AI,
yes.
which is, the next level from generative AI. So let's start with the generative AI because we're using that every day.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought it up front because people stay tuned. This is pretty mind-blowing what we'll get to eventually. There have been so many developments across the board, and what we wanted to do is give you an update just on some of the ways Sam and I are using AI in our business and how it's making our life so much easier and deeper and just so much better. And then, yes, as Sam mentioned, she's been exploring this agentic AI, you call it?
Yes, yeah. They always have to have these really weird names
Yeah, it sounds
because
cool.
basically they're AI agents.
Mm,
So it's called agentic AI.
yeah,
And that is the future that is on our doorstep right now. Like
yeah.
we can literally deploy agentic AI like today.
Which is so exciting. Um, and yeah, so we'll unpack what that is. But we first thought let's do a quick update on some of the generative AI things we use
Yes.
in our business. And I'm just loving, I can't tell you how much I'm loving um, the AI's ability to quickly summarize and process huge amounts of data quickly so that we can um, it's taking the grunt work out of analysis so that we can then look at the interpretation and what that means. So we've got more time for spacious thinking rather than being stuck in pulling out, you know, doing the analysis ourselves, which is really time consuming. So we've got some examples for you. And I suppose the one we could start with before we get to human design, which is another whole amazing topic. But before we hit the record button today, I was telling Sam about a client of mine that has two candidates that are applying for a job in her firm, and she really wasn't sure which candidate would be the best one. So I suggested we run a Harrison assessment, which is for those who aren't familiar with Harrison assessments, they're a very good recruitment tool because they give you a very in-depth personality profiling of someone including, their emotional intelligence, their areas for growth, how they collaborate in teams. It takes a person about 30 minutes to complete, and all the questions are around their work preferences and how they like to work. And it's got this amazing intelligence in the background that pulls out these predictive behavioral, behaviors, I suppose. And so it's brilliant, the information that it gives you. Um, because its focus is on strengths and it helps you, pull out how you can develop this person, but it also pulls out where their blind spots are, which gives you those, really clear overview of their development needs. And so, but they generate these huge reports. And I was telling Sam that I spent an hour on a Zoom call today with my colleague, James Bryden, who is very, very experienced in Harrison assessments. And we were pulling it apart together and figuring out what this data means and how we can present that to the client so that it's meaningful and she knows which candidate she should choose. So anyway, we spent an hour doing this analysis, and in the end, James said, I think, well, he said to me, who do you think she should choose? And I said, well, I think she should choose this person for these reasons. And he said, yeah, I'm the same. This is the red flags for that one, the green flags. We both gave our summary. And then I said to him, hey, how about we put these reports into Claude.ai, or you could do it in Gemini or ChatGPT, and ask it to tell us which one would be the best candidate, given that this is a small company and we want workplace culture to be the priority. And so we put the reports in, and it came out with this person is clearly the best candidate for these reasons. Like, in a split second, and we both just sort of went, wow, um, that just took us an hour to figure out. And it has just basically told us exactly what we thought, but in such a clear and concise way with such a good,
Mm.
like a well-founded argument. And
Yes.
it had the stats and everything about why. Because, I said to him, I remember saying to James several times, my gut feel is this because of that, because we can't retain those all the numbers in our head and stuff. Just after a
Yeah.
while we sort of get a gut feel. Whereas this, AI just went, this person's good because of this, and these numbers reflect that, and it was just brilliant. And apparently Harrison is developing an AI, like every other company at the moment, developing an AI, integration so that it will do exactly that. It'll do because all these tools are great, but it's the interpretation that is important.
Yes. And Kate, I think you've hit on something here that I think is really important to highlight when you're using AI is that AI doesn't have that gut instinct about things. So
Mm,
it can analyze data sets brilliantly and
mm,
give you really succinct explanations of what those data sets mean, but it doesn't have the gut instinct that only a human being has. So
mm.
I kind of wish it had given you a different result.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? But I mean, first of all, let's just say that obviously the fact that you all came up with the same conclusion means that you guys obviously know what you're doing with regards to interpreting that report.
well, it was nice validation. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but I would have been so curious to see how that would have played out if it had actually said no go with the other candidate.
Yeah, yeah, and I would have been completely open to that because there's so much data that you've got to hold in your head, and you overlook things, and that's why I was wondering: is it actually a so-called gut feel that we're getting, or is it that our brain can only retain so much information, but we're vaguely remembering good, bad as we go through, and at the end, the overall sense is it's more good in that person, less good in. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I do know what you mean.
which we then translate to being a gut feeling, or is it more just my brain has processed all that information and I don't know why, but I'm thinking this is the better outcome. Do you know what I mean?
I do. And do you know what? This is so funny we're talking about this. Yesterday, I was doing some research, and the research that I was doing was giving me back the information that brains are just pattern recognition machines.
Mm,
So the fact that you're sitting here saying, what is that gut feeling? Now I'm going, the brain has recognized the pattern, even though on a subconscious
exactly.
level, because it's taken in the data, and then the brain's interpreting that pattern to a physiological response, which is
Yeah.
the gut feeling.
Yes. Yes. So is it this sixth sense, or is it purely that
Mm.
our brains have registered enough patterns that the overall sense is X or Y, and that's the so-called gut feel that we get. Mm,
Yes, because even if you think about when you're standing in front of somebody and you have a gut feeling about that
yeah.
or them, that could be that you're getting the additional data sets that you need from their body language
Mm,
and all of those things to give you that gut sense. This is
yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah, which is all based on historical experiences that we've had with other people, and we know that certain behaviors have resulted in certain experiences, and therefore our brain recognizes that pattern. And
Yes,
um,
yes,
yeah, so it does make you think, holy cow, at the end of the day, we're just pattern recognition devices walking around in flesh and
we are. So now I'm curious to know. I know we've gone off topic from AI for a minute, but this is a really interesting topic because, we always talk about women's intuition. and how it's a
Mm.
lot more powerful. Does that just mean that that part of the brain in a woman is better at this?
Possibly given that over, gazillion years of evolution, women have,
Yeah.
have been in the nurturing role and therefore more sensitive to emotional nuances and things where if the men are
Mm.
focused on getting, hunting, providing, and their sole focus is that, they haven't needed to develop that part of their brain as much because the sole
Mm.
focus is on bringing home the goods and
Mm.
potentially, yeah,
So is our intuition not really a gut thing, but it's a gut response that's sent by the brain
yeah,
based on the data?
prob most could be. I mean, this exercise to me really did highlight, yeah, that what we are doing all the time is interpreting data.
Mm.
And yeah, the fact that you can give that data to Claude and it just comes out with this very clear summary, which we attribute to a gut feeling. Yeah, I mean, it is at the end of the day data, pattern recognition and interpretation. Mm,
Yes, yeah. Because I know, like, whenever I've conducted training programs and training courses on how to use AI, it's always been my mission to encourage people to always push back on the output of an AI
yeah.
because we do have individual experiences and
Mm,
we have access to information that isn't necessarily, like the old Google search
mm,
information. And also, no AI is that good that it understands our nuances and our own human experience.
mm-hmm,
So we have to push back on anything that an AI tells us,
mm.
particularly when we're doing any kind of exploratory work, like in the human design. We
Yes.
have to always make sure that we are questioning the output. I find that I have to give very specific instructions for AI to not be so agreeable all the time.
Yeah. And sometimes when you do push back, it says, oh, yes, thank you for pointing that out. Yes, in that case, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, but you could, are you trying
Yes,
to please me or are you,
yes, exactly. So I think one of my favorites at the moment is always adding onto my prompts. Give me all the reasons why this isn't going to work.
Mm,
Because I don't just want an agreeable AI that's going to go, oh, this is the best in the world. You're so clever. I
yeah,
don't want that. So
yeah,
I'm like, tell me why it's not going to work. What am I
yeah.
missing?
Tell me the
What am
reason.
I? Oh, I tell you, that's practically ingrained in my keyboard. What am I missing?
Mm,
Mm.
interesting. Well, we've mentioned human design a couple of times, and there might be listeners that don't actually know what that is. So I've just asked AI to give me a quick description.
Oh, yes, yes.
Um, it was it's a field, a body of work created in 1987 by Robert Alan Krakauer, who is now calls himself Ra Uru Hu. But it it could sound so-called woo-woo, but I know a lot of very mainstream people harnessing this approach.
Mm.
So there's obviously substance in it because people are using it, and I found it particularly insightful. So, anyway, human design is a relatively modern system that combines elements from astrology, the I Ching, which is the Chinese Tao system, Kabbalah, the Jewish system, chakras, and quantum physics to create what its proponents describe as a blueprint for understanding individual personalities, how we make decisions, and our life purpose. It can help you understand your authentic nature, improve relationships, make better decisions, and align your life more authentically. So last week I was complaining to Sam that I was feeling very stuck in my own business and feeling out of alignment, and that everything I was offering just felt really lackluster. And I didn't actually say I was to win clients. I didn't actually want to deliver the work because it, um, yeah, I was just completely in a funk. And Sam suggested I run my human design report, which she very lovingly then generated for me and sent to me. And as I read it, was just like, wow, okay. So, firstly, how did you generate that report, Sam?
Oh gosh. Well, I'd like to say it was really a simple little prompt, but honestly, I've been doing this for a little while with
Yeah.
people. So I've kind of, I don't have a formal system apart from I do upload it into AI
Mhm.
and then I ask questions to draw out certain things from that human design report.
Mm.
Because it depends on what output you want. Like for you, it was like, where are you going with your business and that kind of thing. So I just was asking a series of questions about, that this is, I uploaded your website, I uploaded
Mm.
your social media accounts
Yeah.
so that the AI could get a sense of what you're putting out in the world versus your human design to then see where the alignment was out.
Yes. Which was brilliant insight for me because it made me realize that my business model was completely out of alignment of how I naturally like to
Yeah.
operate. Yeah, and the
Yes.
it's interesting because the different types, there's five main types in the human design system. You've got
Yes.
manifestors. These are the people who initiate and can start independently, and um, yeah, they're here to initiate and impact others, and that's only about 9% of the population apparently. And then you've got generators, that's about 30% of the population. These are the life force energy of the planet. They are designed to respond to what life brings to them rather than initiate.
Yeah.
Um, and then you've got the manifesting generators, which is myself. Which one were you, Sam?
I'm a generator.
Yeah. So you respond to what life brings to you
Yeah, so that's why, like, you've come to me with this problem, and that's why I'm really good at picking that up and then running with it.
and then responding. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But I know I've known you for a long time and you're not someone who loves putting yourself out there and, uh,
No, I'm happy to just sit behind the scenes and do all the stuff there.
yeah, and respond to what comes your way. But then the challenge there is how do you bring the things to you to respond to, isn't it?
Well, yes, yes. Particularly, and we're supposed to be talking about yours, but my profile in particular is that I have, there are some, look, I won't dive too deeply into human design, but I am a role model and a hermit. And I'm finding that I very much rely on that hermit side of myself to re energize.
Mm.
So,
And that's where you do your research and you're playing with the tools. That's how you stay
yes,
ahead of the game. And yeah,
yes, yes, definitely.
yeah, interesting.
Yeah, so back to your report.
Yeah, so manifesting generators are 33% of the population. That's a
Yes.
hybrid type that combines qualities of manifestors, meaning initiators and generators. So they can initiate, but must also respond, multi-passionate, fast-moving, and efficient. They respond to opportunities um, as well, rather than, but they can do both,
Yes.
respond and initiate. Then you've got projectors, which is about 20% of the population. These are the guides and advisors designed to see systems and people clearly. Their strategy is to wait for invitation before sharing their insights or taking on major roles, but they're here to guide others efficiently. So that's your coaches, consultants, therapists, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you've got reflectors, which is only 1% of the population, the rarest type, designed to reflect the health of their community and environment, highly sensitive to their surroundings. Their strategy is to um, wait before making major decisions. They need to
Mm.
have really good clarity before they take action. Yeah, so I guess the interesting thing is, figuring out which one of those you are. And there is credibility, astrologers have been running birth charts for people for, millennia. Like, so there is, not everyone believes in astrology, but yeah, astrology in itself looks at the alignment of the planets and stars when you were born and what that means for your particular blueprint. And Sam, it's interesting because you're someone who's come from, a military, you came from the Navy and very
Yeah.
blueprint, very left-brained world. What is it that draws you to human design and that sort of astrological blueprint?
Oh, I think, well, like some time ago doing the bank profiling. And
Mm,
I think because I sat on that line of, oh, you're just a nice little piece of everything. And I've done personality tests. And when I was working in the HR industry, uh, a lot of that industry do rely on personality tests. But
Mm.
what I felt for me personally was that on any given day, my interpretation of what I thought a question meant on a personality test and how I would answer that might change. So I felt like I don't know if I mean, like I would do the tests and they would give me great information. But then I was like, oh, but next time I do the test, I'm getting a different result. So
Mm.
I wasn't 100% confident that a personality test
Was
would give
representative of
me
you.
what I needed.
Yeah.
And then when I was shown human design, I was like, oh, it's not open to interpretation for how I answer questions.
Yeah. It's
It's
simply,
just, it is what it is.
yeah, there's nothing you need to input into that. So for those that aren't, you can get a free human design report generated online, and
Yeah.
there's lots of them, and it literally just asks for your birth date, your name, where you were born, what time you were born.
Yeah.
That's it. It's pure astrology, really, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Um,
Yes.
and then
So,
there's birthday.
so for me, that was like that's what I need to look at because then it's not open to how I'm feeling that day.
Hmm. It's your
And,
blueprint, so to say.
yes, yes, yeah. Yeah, because I feel like personality testing, and there are certainly some that are much higher quality than
Yeah.
others. But through the question process, sometimes it's like, oh, you're in a room full of people. What would you do? A, B, C, D. Well, on some days I would do this, but
Mm.
get me on another day, and there's no way I'm doing that. I'm doing this thing over here.
Yeah, it's not
So
your core. It doesn't tell you what your core is and how that makes you show up in life. And
yes, yes, because that's the other thing that I felt was that who we are is very much influenced by all of the events and everything that have happened in our lives. So I was questioning, who am I at my core? How far back do I have to go to find that core person
Mm.
before, events happened that sort of shifted how I saw myself and influenced who I became now. So these are all very big, you know, universe questions, aren't they? But I
Yeah,
wanted something that would explain to me who I am without my influence.
yeah. And I think you kind of can tell when something feels truthful or not.
Yeah.
And yeah, when I read the report that you generated for me, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That feels true. Um,
Yes.
which was basically around the fact that I operate and, getting onto how this can help you in your, realign your business model. I operate better when I've got lots of space in my week to create and do deep thought. And then when I'm working with someone, it's for a more intensive, higher priced thing because that allows me to, or and allows me to do deeper work with that person and at a higher price point, but at the same time my human design craves collaboration and groups. And yeah, and I have been running my mastermind over the last 2.5
Yes.
years, and actually I think you might have pointed out, Sam, or in the report said that I get recharged from group activities. And that's true. Every time I come off a mastermind, I'm buzzing.
Yeah.
But when I come off a private one-to-one session, I'm usually really drained.
Yes. And that tells you something. And I think too, Kate, that's how I was feeling as well doing one-on-one coaching. And
Mm,
that's why over the past couple of years I've withdrawn further and further from
mm,
having that as something that I offer.
mm.
Because when I'm in it, I'm okay, but it is afterwards that I'm like, oh, I've got nothing left now. Like I
Yeah.
and then I started to get to the point where I had to really psych myself up before a session.
Hmm.
And I'd be like, I know I'm okay once I'm in it, but it feels tiring now before I've even started it. And
Mm,
it's high energy and it's a lot of focus and a lot of thought to deliver the session.
mm.
And then it's full in a heap afterwards.
Yeah.
That's not a sustainable business model.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, as we talk, I'm actually quite curious because it's recommended that I do these one-to-one day intensives.
Mm,
One-to-one coaching intensives, which is a whole day with someone. And I'm starting to think, is that the right? It's recommended that I do these quarterly business alignment workshops, which is 6 to 8 people in a room or online, and it's a whole day business realignment thing, which I really
yeah.
like. I do that. But I'm actually just going to ask it right now. Um, if I thrive, just real time,
Yes.
in groups as opposed to as opposed to private coaching, why have you recommended a threshold session, they've called it? I wouldn't call it that.
No.
A 1 day private coaching intensive. Let's see what it says. Uh, that's an excellent question. See?
Yes. But the VIP day came from me
Yeah,
because you had communicated to me while we were talking how much you enjoyed your 2 hour sessions.
yeah.
And
And
also you said you need to really work with someone for 6 months to get the results because
yeah,
the results take time.
yeah.
So that was my influence. And that's why I said to you after, it was even earlier today when I was thinking about your report, and I was like, I don't think that's the accurate output for you.
Right.
I think that was my influence in there.
Mm. And then what did you come up with after that?
Well, I didn't get very far because
Right,
I had
yeah.
to move on to something else.
Because it
But
does,
it did suggest that it could be used as a pathway for people.
mm,
So, which really is probably the 2 hour sessions you're already doing.
possibly,
But it did recommend that you could offer an invitation to what it's called an inner circle, which is
mm,
a 5 to 10 person VIP event. So
mm,
it's actually said to use that as a gateway into small group events,
yeah, yeah.
invitationals.
Right. That was an inner circle, was it? Interesting. Um, yeah.
Yes, an inner circle invitation.
Mm, I like that. Yeah. So it's has said that private sessions will still work because your triple split, which is a term they have in human design, needs
Mhm.
people who energetically bridge your centers so your own flow can integrate. This can happen in one-on-one intensive work where you and your client create a complete energetic circuit. And I do feel that in a lot of
Mm.
cases. The depth and intimacy of a full day private session allows for profound energetic connection. And then, yeah, it's got a few other things that I have the gift of piercing through illusion to guide others to clarity, which works powerfully in private sacred space where someone can be completely vulnerable.
Mm.
Group settings might dilute this. So I guess, yeah, it's important to offer both, but in a way that feels, you know, I guess the key sign is, are you dreading it before you even start
Yes.
what you are, or do you actually look forward to that? Um,
Mm.
mm,
I kind of wish I actually hadn't. I kind of wish I'd started yours uh, without giving it any context and asked what would be the ideal business for you to be in,
mm,
rather than saying this is what Kate's doing right now. I would
yeah,
have been curious to see what it would have suggested for you.
yeah. Mm. Well, as what I'm going to actually do that. I'm going to start a whole new thing and ask it. But in the
Yeah.
meantime, could you give us an overview of this agentic AI?
Oh, agentic AI. So the difference between jumping onto ChatGPT and Claude, they're generative AIs, and what that means is that you give it a prompt, which is you telling it what output you want, and then it will give you the output based on the prompt. So it's not good at coloring too far outside those lines. It's going to give you pretty much what you ask for, whereas agentic AI is going to operate independently. So rather than giving it a prompt saying, I want this particular outcome, as opposed to saying, this is a goal I want to achieve. Now you have to go and achieve it the whatever way you need to achieve it. And one of the examples that we were talking about before we jumped on here today was, for example, you would use an agentic AI to book and travel and plan and book a holiday for you. So the agentic AI is going to go and find your flights. It's going to go and find your hotel. It's going to make the booking, and then whoop, out the other end comes your itinerary, and off you go.
But it's actually
Whereas,
taken action in the real world to make that happen.
yes, so agentic AI can perform these tasks that generative AI can't really do.
Mm. Which
So,
I was saying to Sam beforehand, that's quite amazing, mind-blowing, but also scary for people like travel agents and virtual assistants that do, personal assistant tasks for people, if that can all be done now by an agentic AI.
yes,
Which
yes.
means you're actually then handing that agentic AI the response, well, the permission, or what do you call it? Authority to make payments on your behalf and things like that.
Well, that's where we're heading. That's where we're heading. So if you think about in the context of, business tasks, for example, an agentic AI could have access to your email account. It can scan and sort your emails, and it can also respond to emails on your behalf. So you never have to open your inbox if you don't want to.
Yeah.
So, as exciting as that is, especially for people like me who avoid their inbox like the plague, I feel sorry for people that email me, but inbox overwhelm is a real, real thing.
Yeah.
But it feels a little frightening at this point in time, just like every tech evolution always feels a bit frightening. This feels a bit frightening about how much power and control we are giving technology
Mm,
to manage our lives, to operate our businesses. And where does this end? This is what I'm curious about.
mm,
Where does this end? And I know we've asked this question at every iteration of AI that we've had so far. But where are we going with this? As everyone knows, like my son had surgery recently, my husband had surgery. They've both had surgery this year. Both of their surgeries performed by robots, which, we know that those robots are controlled by the surgeons. But how far away is this futuristic world in which the surgeon doesn't need to be there? The surgeon is going to give that robot a program, and the robot is going to do a surgery completely independently of a surgeon.
mm. Well, yeah, how is that going to change the medical industry?
It's really, I don't know. I've seen the movies. Like, you think of the movies where, the like the futuristic space movies where the person jumps in the capsule and the lasers do the surgery, and then they're all fixed up, and an hour later they pop out and their surgery's all done and they're all better.
Mm,
That's one of the things that I've seen for quite some years, that it hasn't hit my brain that that's actually going to be something that could happen.
mm. Yeah. Yeah, it's and I don't know enough about that field, but it seems completely mind-blowing and high risk, but I'm sure it's, like everything, evolving quickly. And Sam,
Yeah.
back to our businesses, you were
Yeah.
mentioning well, both you and I were talking beforehand about some of the other big revolutions taking place, like these AI powered website builders, where basically you say to
Yes.
it, this is my business idea. I want to create a website. It generates all the copy, it works with you to develop the content, then builds you a website, then hosts it for you for a measly $20 a month.
Yes. Yes. How's that going to go? It amazes me. I, I shared with you earlier, Kate, that I've been working on developing GPTs of my own
Yeah.
rather than every time I want to do something, I have to, okay, here's the prompt to get this
Mm.
started. So I'm working on my own GPT so I can just call up the GPT and it knows what I want and it's got all the information. It can just go ahead and do it. But I've also seen demonstrations, and this excites me as somebody who is, quite often feels overwhelmed by content creation, which I know, is something that a lot of people listening
Oh,
will
yeah,
feel the pain of. So
absolutely.
in real time, um, right now, without even agentic AI, you could set up an AI automation that will conduct the research, write the article, post it to your site, and then post promotional social media posts for that article. So we've gone from, oh, use AI to write a blog to AI being capable right now, today, of managing that entire process. And pretty soon the agentic AIs are going to go, oh, it's 9 o'clock. I have to write a blog and post about it. And it's just going to start doing it every day. And then, but where do we stop? Where do
Yeah.
we stop?
But this
Because
is,
then the algorithm's going to need a new blog post every hour
mm,
to try and get ahead of the game. And then it's going to be, oh, new blog posts every minute. Like, where do we stop with
yeah,
the content?
yeah, yeah. Oh, it's heading to a even bigger information overload out there, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah, but
yes,
it's fascinating because I see these, as soon as I I was at a networking event last night and met a guy who is, and these 20-year-olds are so savvy, aren't they? He would have been mid-20s, maybe, got this amazing idea. We actually want to get him on the show, because he's one of these go-getters who's, bootstrapped this not-for-profit, which seems to be thriving and doing really well. And I said to him, "Have you got a website yet?" And he said, "Oh, I'm actually about to hit the go live button on that because we've so far just been boots on the ground working with local communities, but now we're getting a new website up." And I said, "Oh, I hope you haven't spent tens of thousands of dollars to make that happen, because that's often what happens. I get startups coming to me that have wasted so much money on expensive websites." And he said, "I haven't spent a cent yet, but I will be paying $20 a month." And I said to him, "What's this product?" And he said, "It's Lovable, Lovable, AI powered website builder." And he gave it his company's mission, what they do, and it's developed this whole website, which, once it goes live, we can share it with everyone, and when we get him on the show, hopefully. But uh, and I immediately thought, oh my gosh, that's going to put my web designer out of business, who I
yes.
normally refer so many clients to my amazing website developer, who traditionally has been able to offer extremely affordable website design services, a website for $1,500 or $2,000 that looks great, that has all the functionality, as opposed to 5 to 10K that an agency would charge. But if I can help my clients, because I usually work with them to develop the content anyway, if we can build a website with the AI powered builder and get it live, then that's going to completely sidestep all those web developers and
Yes.
graphic designers, because you can like AI generate a logo, and you know, um, and each one of those is unique. It's not like, you used to use ClickArt, or not, no, I would never have recommended ClickArt, but people did used to make their own DIY logos, which were terrible. But now AI logo builders know graphic design, and they know that it needs to be unique for trademarking,
Yeah,
for you know legal reasons and so on. So if that's going to take branding designers out of the equation and web developers, and suddenly you can do this on your own for $20 a month, it's mind-boggling.
it is.
But how is that going to disrupt
The
the
logo
industry?
for Digital Sisters
Yeah,
that was created by AI.
yeah, and it's quite clever.
Yeah. I mean, mind you, I developed the concept.
Yeah,
So I knew what I wanted. I
yeah,
selected the colors and everything, and then
Yeah, and
And
like
there was quite
everything,
a few iterations of that to get what I had in my mind's eye.
yeah,
But
but you didn't
yes,
have to spend $1,000, $2,000 on a graphic designer. And not that,
no,
I feel terrible because I know several amazing branding designers who are worth their weight in gold. But you just
yeah,
wonder, I know that, you and I, Sam, are often working with startups and people that need to get to market quickly at the cheapest price possible to test
yeah,
the market and, and start building and growing. So these sort of opportunities make that path so much easier.
yes, they do. They do. And AI, oh, it does an incredible job of some of this stuff.
Mm,
But look, I'm going to go back to where we're needed as people
mm.
because unless you have a knowledge of what you're looking at and what you need to come out of it, you're not going to get good results from AI.
That's right. Rubbish in equals rubbish out. There's like any
Yes.
any model. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yesterday I was working on creating some content
Yeah.
and I look, I'm not a big SEO expert, but
Yeah.
I do have an understanding of some basic SEO. So I know that one of the tricks that some of the bigger companies use is to rewrite the top performing content for any
Mm,
given keyword. So what I did, and this all started because I was scrolling through a Facebook group and I saw a post and it already had 116 comments on. So I'm like, I don't feel the need to make a comment on this post. But this post was like, that is a post from my ideal customer. Like, this is exactly what I could help her with. So
mm,
I screenshot the post and then I had AI tell me about some of the keywords that that person might use to Google. Then I went on to Google and I punched in a couple of questions that the AI gave me, and I pinched the top three articles based on that, put them into AI, and said, right, write me an article. And I said, I need this to challenge these articles for top position on Google, but using my brand voice and coming at this topic from the angle in which I address it. And it wrote me this massive big thing. And I was like, okay, now let's cut all the fat out and
mm,
let's go deep rather than go long.
mhm.
So that's kind of the future of how I'm producing content now.
Yeah. Which you're just directing it. You're doing the strategy, telling it what to
Yes.
do, and it's doing all the work, which is you
Yes.
take us days to write a single blog if you do the deep thought and research that's required to go into it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I sat there at the end and I was reading it and I'm like, all I need to do now is go through and do some edits and just put a couple of things in there that I would say
Mm,
and the job's done. But the SEO side is done by AI and the human side is done by me.
mm. Fascinating.
And it's dramatically cutting down the amount of time that it takes to make content.
Yeah.
And when I get time to sit down, I will create an automation that will actually take care of that whole process for me. So I won't step in until the end when it's all done.
So this is the agentic AI that you're talking about, where you can ask it to do that whole process, or is this simply an automation?
Well, I'll create an automation. I'm still researching some of these agentic AIs because it is early days for that stuff yet.
Mm, okay, so
And
watch this space.
these are things that you have to pay to use. And
Yeah.
I'm very discerning with my money.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
but watch this
yes,
space. We'll be doing
yes,
another episode, no doubt, in 6 months when Sam has mastered agentic AI and is using
yeah.
it for content generation. I mean, it's quite amazing how far we've come in just if you think 3, 5 years ago, the massive breakthrough was automatic schedulers, where you social media schedulers, where you put your content in and it automatically puts it out over time. But you were completely responsible for generating that content.
Mm,
And now that whole process, including content generation, can be done. And then all you need to do is go in and approve or review. And
mm.
yeah, it's quite mind-boggling.
Yes. And how long will it be before I don't need to tweak the end product?
And you've got your
Before it knows me so well that it's going to go, Sam wouldn't say that, Sam would say this.
And you've got consistent social media visibility going out of really good quality content, and you're
Yes.
not doing a thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And do you know what? That scares me in itself because when you think about the fact that people like you and I are selling our experience and our thoughts, but the content we're putting out there is not directly our experience and thoughts, it's by proxy.
Mm, that's right. And you do wonder how much, like now when I'm looking on LinkedIn, I can clearly see what's AI generated. Even imagery now, I just saw a colleague posted an image of himself in a sort of boardrooms type thing, but it was clearly
Oh,
AI generated.
yes. Yeah.
And yeah, I sometimes wonder, is it because we're in the industry that we're particularly sensitive to, or notice that, or
Yeah.
it's getting to the point where,
There's some words, I don't know why AI gets hooked on these certain words. And as soon as I see that word, I'm like, AI, come
yeah,
on, edit your output first before you
yeah,
post it, please.
transform or yeah, what is it?
As soon as something says no fluff, I know it came from AI.
What are some other things? I mean, the word it loves the word transform, no matter how much you. Um,
Yeah. I know that I'm battling with AI because I can't get my chat GPT to stop saying certain phrases. And I've
mm,
specifically said, do not ever use that in any output that you give me.
mm,
But yes,
can't help itself.
no, it can't. And I'm like, let it go. I'm never publishing that
Mm,
with that phrase in it. I'm never going to use that phrase. Stop giving it to me.
mm. Well, we've come to the end of our episode, so we hope this has been helpful. But yeah, I mean, generative AI is both Sam and I are finding that it's saving so much time and just in basic interpretation of stuff that frees up your time to focus
Yeah.
on the application of that. And then, the it was just amazing today with my colleagues saying, well, let's see what AI does, and
Yeah.
I think that's what we just encourage you all to do, just keep experimenting and playing
Yeah.
and see what can it do. Like sometimes I think, oh, I couldn't possibly do that. And then you try and you think, wow,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm going to slip one more in here, Kate, because I know that there are so many people that don't read their financial reports for their business.
Ah,
I upload P&Ls and balance sheets into ChatGPT and I
wow.
get it to run analysis.
Oh, wow.
Give me profit margins, day to day. I get it to do all the calculations that I need. So anybody that thinks that they don't look at their financial reports because they don't understand the output,
Wow.
AI is going to explain it all to you.
That's
That's
amazing.
a little
And
one for today.
fantastic, because most of you would know that in Zero you just can download your P&L or
Yeah.
your different financial reports. That's brilliant. Upload it
Yeah.
into ChatGPT and says, what does this mean? What can I tweak to become more profitable? What
Yes.
would my pricing structure? Should it
Yeah.
be? Blah blah blah. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
I've been using it to analyze where we're at with putting on new staff.
Mm.
So I'm like, what's the increase in revenue look like? What's the increase in profitability like? If I put someone on for this amount for an annual salary, how is that going to impact me financially? And what does the business need to grow to be able to
Wow.
substantiate that higher?
Which previously would have taken a whole day of spreadsheet work to
Yeah, yeah. So
yeah.
financial analysis, that's a fun little playground that
Wow.
anybody that isn't looking at their numbers because they don't understand how to analyze those reports, get
Now
AI
you
to
have
do it
no
for you.
excuse.
Yeah, yeah,
Brilliant. Oh, well, thank you, Sam. I always love chatting with you because I learn so much about the latest trends in AI and systems and automation and yeah, happy hermit days.
yes, yes,
Yeah. No, it's and so those of you who are curious in human design, check it out. It does give you quite insightful information and you'll
yeah,
know whether it feels, true for you or not, and you can
yeah,
take it or leave it. But I've found it's particularly helpful in helping me reassess how I'm doing things.
yeah, yeah. Reach out to me if you want to dive into human design because it's very much what we're embedding into how we operate our business now. So
Absolutely, yeah. Well, thank you, Sam, and lovely to be back with you. We will see you all soon
Yes.
again for another session in a couple of weeks. Bye for now.
Bye bye.